the horse took its first steps onto the coffin, causing a collective gasp from those gathered around. As the lid cracked open, a haunting cry pierced the air, leaving everyone in astonishment. It served as a stark reminder of the incredible nature of animals, often underestimated by us humans. One of their most underappreciated qualities is their capacity to forge profound bonds with humans, forming a connection that defies explanation. Some believe that certain animals possess an uncanny ability to sense the energy of living beings and even detect when someone has passed away before anyone else knows. This is the tale of a horse residing on a quaint farm in Morocco, owned by a 65-year-old farmer named Salim. Salim had spent his entire life surrounded by animals, thanks to his animal-loving parents who raised cattle, cared for horses, and kept a variety of pets in their home. Growing up, Salim learned the importance of earning and respecting an animal's trust, and it seemed that animals were naturally drawn to him. Among all the creatures on the farm, horses held a special place in his heart. Salim would wake up before the sun and eagerly tend to the stables, lovingly grooming the horses, feeding them, and nurturing their well-being. The horses reciprocated his affection with joyous neighs whenever he approached. It was no surprise that he inherited his parents' farm and their traditions when they passed away. Salim didn't limit his care to healthy, marketable animals. He actively sought out those that others had abandoned or deemed unworthy. He rescued countless farm animals from impending euthanasia, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to their well-being. His farm was home to a multitude of horses, creating a breathtaking sea of glossy coats whenever they roamed together. Salim found beauty in every aspect of these majestic creatures' lives, and his fascination only deepened as he grew older. At the age of 48, Salim's path crossed with a special horse. While selling horse feed, he overheard a client discussing the need to euthanize a young horse. Disturbed by this conversation, Salim rushed to inquire about the circumstances surrounding the mare and her foal. The buyer explained that the mother horse was severely ill and her condition had likely passed on to her offspring. The birth had been traumatic and the mother had tragically passed away within an hour. The newborn foal was frail, nearly blind, and its chances of survival were bleak. The buyer was burdened by the costs and the mystery of the foal's condition, which weighed heavily on his conscience. Salim's heart went out to the suffering foal, and he insisted on seeing it for himself. When he arrived at the farm and laid eyes on the emaciated foal, his heart melted. It was as pitiful as described, with an aura of sadness in its eyes. Salim couldn't fathom how the owners had neglected the foal due to the circumstances of its birth. They had already decided to end its life without giving it a fighting chance. Salim made an earnest request to purchase the young horse, surprising the other farm owner. "Why would you want this pathetic, weak creature?" The owner questioned, doubting the foal's chances of survival. He cautioned Salim that it might not even live for a month. Salim remained resolute, driven by compassion and determination. He was taking the unfortunate foal home with him. After a brief hesitation, the owner agreed, albeit with a warning that Salim shouldn't expect a refund if the foal eventually succumbed to its ailments. Salim accepted the terms, and they swiftly loaded the fragile foal onto his truck. As they departed from the farm, the young horse still wore its forlorn expression, but Salim was determined to provide it with a chance at a better life on the outskirts of town, at his beloved farm. Salim's first instinct was to call a veterinarian for the frail foal. Despite his own knowledge of caring for horses, it was evident that the young horse required professional medical attention. The vet recommended bringing the foal to his clinic, which was located several miles away from Salim's farm, outside the town. Undeterred by the distance, Salim loaded the foal into his truck, determined to do whatever it took to ensure its survival. After thorough examination and tests at the vet's clinic, a heavy sigh escaped the veterinarian's lips. The prognosis was grim, with little hope for the foal to reach adulthood, let alone survive beyond a few months, or perhaps a year or two with the utmost care and patience. However, Salim was resolute in his commitment to the foal's well-being, regardless of the odds stacked against it. Salim spared no effort in providing the foal, now named Kala, with a comfortable and happy life. Against all expectations, Kayla defied the odds. The years passed, and the feeble, sickly foal transformed into a magnificent and robust steed. He exuded strength, speed, boundless energy, and a playful spirit. Kala's attachment to Salim was unmistakable. He seemed to consider Salim his true father, following him everywhere and gazing at him with unwavering affection. Salim often jestingly remarked that his devoted care had kept Kala alive and healthy. Unfortunately, several years later, Salim fell seriously ill, leaving him unable to tend to the animals on the farm as he once did. His wife and children took over the responsibilities while he supervised and contributed what little he could. Kala, however, was unlike the other farm animals. He possessed intelligent eyes and a beautiful soul that resonated with anyone who encountered him. In the mornings and evenings, Kala would trot to Salim's side as he sat on the front porch, spending precious moments with him. Tragedy struck when Salim suffered a heart attack while working in his garden. Despite the family's swift response, there was nothing they could do to save him in their small town. As Salim lay unresponsive in his bed, the family came to the heartbreaking realization that he had passed away. Following local customs, they began the burial rituals. Salim's body was carefully washed, wrapped in a fitting burial shroud, and placed in a wooden coffin for transport to the burial site on his farm. A collective shock rippled through the crowd when they heard the distant sound of a horse's neigh as they made their way to the gravesite. The farmhands attempted to confine Kala to his stable, but the powerful horse shattered the doors and galloped towards the crowd. With Salim being a beloved figure in the community, many tearful mourners had gathered at the burial site. The sight of the formidable horse charging towards them caused panic, and they scattered away from the coffin by the grave. Kala reached the coffin and began to stomp on it vigorously. While it was evident that the horse meant no harm and was grieving Salim's passing, restraining the powerful animal proved challenging. Just as they managed to secure a catch rope around Kala's collar, the horse kicked off the coffin's lid and shifted his focus to sniffing it. A stunned silence filled the air until cries were heard from inside the coffin. To everyone's astonishment, Salim exclaimed and emerged from the coffin. Fear and disbelief swept through the crowd, causing them to flee. Salim's family and a few close friends who remained were in shock, witnessing what seemed like a miraculous resurrection. As tears streamed down the faces of Salim's family and friends, they couldn't help but believe in the power of the bond between Kala and Salim. An expert doctor later explained that Salim likely experienced catalepsy, a condition that mimics death, including loss of sensitivity, vital signs, consciousness, and body rigidity. It was Kala's unwavering connection with his owner that led him to detect that Salim was still alive, preventing a premature burial. This heartwarming story of an extraordinary bond between a horse and its owner evokes a sense of awe and admiration. It reaffirms the incredible connections that can exist between humans and animals, demonstrating the depth of love and loyalty that transcends conventional understanding.